Good morning and welcome. You join us here today in the IT suites at Aldwyn Primary School. This event is a collaboration between Victorious Academy Trust, Aldwyn Primary School and Ashton Teacher Training Partnership. Around 30 PGCE students have joined us in the suite this morning, and we're going to go through some of the recent changes to the computing curriculum. Have a look at some of the free training and lesson plans that's on offer, and they will also have an opportunity to view and help out with 2 computer lessons from Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. This is the agenda for this morning. So we've got welcome and introduction, a brief look at what has changed last year, computing curriculum recent changes, free resources and training, a quick sort of introduction to the BBC Microbit, planning and organising a lesson, cloud-based software you should be using, and using AI in the classroom. All these will be time-stamped in this video, so it should make it very easy for you to skip through to different sections. So, just a little bit about me. My name is John Goodyear. I now class myself as a computer lead. But my background isn't education, my background is electronics, computer hardware and operating system engineer, and I was a field technician for well over 20 years. I moved into education by chance and into teaching by pure luck. As well as computer hardware, I have experience in WordPress and Wix web design, video and audio editing, electronics, single board computing and some coding. And this makes me pretty lucky really, because this broad range of skills has helped with the changes in the computing curriculum. So what you're going to see later today. So you'll be taking part in 2 lessons, one for Key Stage 1 and one for Key Stage 2. Year 6 are currently doing an e-commerce project, and this is a bespoke lesson. And we started off looking at the history of e-commerce and the early adopters. We talked about the good and bad points, we brainstormed some business ideas, and finally children got down to designing and building a website, including all the graphics needed for Black Friday deals, which is done on Canva. So students and guests this morning are welcome to walk around with these lessons going on, ask questions and also join in. Later on, Year 3 will be showing off their skills and knowledge at creating branching databases. This is from the Teach Computing curriculum, from the Data and Information section. Year 3 will show their knowledge and understanding of branching databases, and again students will be given a chance to help out and create their own database. So yes, a lot has changed since last year, and we've seen the introduction of AI and how this will change the way we work with children, not only in computing but right across the curriculum as well, and we'll touch on AI towards the end of this presentation. And there's also been the introduction of the BBC Microbit and a free class set of microbits for every primary school across the country, and a further push for children to mix coding with the control of real-life equipment such as alarm systems, sensors and data logging. This means changes to the computer curriculum. So what's recently changed in that curriculum? Well, there has been some recent changes to the UK computing curriculum in 2023. The Department of Education, the DfE, published a new version of the curriculum which includes the following changes. The new curriculum places a greater emphasis on computational thinking, which is the ability to solve problems using computational methods. This includes things like breaking down problems into smaller steps, identifying patterns using algorithms, and really that's true right across the curriculum no matter what you do. It's always a good idea if you've got a problem to try and break it down into smaller steps, and I think that's what that part of the curriculum is aiming at. It's also been a new curriculum. It introduces a more modern approach to programming with a focus on block-based programming languages, and I think what they mean there is I think they just don't want you to use Scratch. With the introduction of the BBC Microbit, you can move away from Scratch and still use block-based programming, but in a different way. They also want to introduce integrated development environments, or IDEs. I don't think that'll happen in primary school. IDEs are like a word processor for coders. I've used them and they're great, but I think that's going to be a little bit too advanced for primary schools. The aim is that this will help pupils to learn programming concepts in a more engaging, interactive way. The new curriculum also places great emphasis on digital literacy, with the ability to use digital technology effectively and safely. This includes things like understanding how digital systems work, being able to evaluate digital information, and being aware of online risks. So, the new curriculum is designed to ensure that all pupils have the skills and knowledge they need to thrive in a modern world. It is designed to reflect the latest developments in computing technology and prepare pupils for jobs of the future. And this new curriculum is being phased in gradually, and all schools will be required to teach it fully by 2025. Teach computing requires a broad range of skills, which it does. So even teaching Key Stage 1 computing can be a little bit tricky. In Key Stage 2 things get even more complex. The computing curriculum is broad, which means if you work in a school using a modern, up-to-date curriculum, you will need skills as far-reaching as coding to knowing how a computer network operates. And schools need to make sure that they have the systems and provision in place that will allow children to experience and work in the 21st century way. But let's take a look at teaching computing in the real world. Well, and we know the DFE would like to think that every school has a broad, feature-rich computing curriculum and staff are covering everything from coding to networks. Really, in reality, they don't, but schools do their very best to cover the required subjects. So there are now many paid for schemes, Purple Bash probably being the most famous, but there are 2 free ones that have been introduced. These 3 options have been taken up by many schools and offer an excellent mix of complete lesson plans, training and introduction to real-life computing. So let's take a look at a couple of the free lesson plans. Let's just see what's available. This is the sort of stuff you can access now. It's not going to cost you anything. All you need is a login and you can access all these lesson plans and the training for nothing. Probably the most famous, or perhaps the best known, is the Teach Computing curriculum. Again, you'll need a login, but everything on this is free. Again, it's totally free. It's a full of complete lesson plans. It provides resources and training and support for teaching computing in primary and secondary schools, and it also offers courses and accreditation. The courses are excellent but may take a little time to complete. I've done quite a few of these courses and they are pretty good, but be warned, they do take a little time to complete, but you do get a nice certificate at the end. And if you do so many courses, you do the right amount, you get another certificate. So they are really good. For the more advanced courses, bursaries are available for training, and there's also community support. It's backed by the National Centre for Computing in Education and the Raspberry Pi Foundation and the DFE, and there are a full range of lessons right across the school year groups from primary and secondary. So what's the disadvantages? Well, I've actually scrubbed out disadvantages because I don't think there are many, and I put observations in. Well, in my opinion, there's no doubt that some parts may assume you have prior knowledge of some of the subjects. There's no doubt about that. They do. And there is also a lot of printing, believe me. I've actually converted a lot of the printing to online worksheets, so everything's now done online. But if you don't do that, be prepared to do an awful lot of printing. And in real life, teaching some of these lessons for a particular year group, I found is too complex for that year group. So just be warned about that. The lessons do follow on for each other, and they're designed to scaffold learning right across the year groups, but just in my opinion, I think some of the lessons are a little bit too complex for the year group. So let's just drop out of this for a second, and I'll show you what the Teach Computing website looks like. So here we go. This is the Teach Computing website, and I've logged in, so I've got an account. And if you just go through some of the tabs, you've got training and support, so you can take a look at all the training courses that are currently on offer. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of courses there that you can take, all sorts of stuff, and they are really good. You've also got the Teaching Primary Toolkit and the Teacher Certificate. So I've done a lot of these courses now. These are all the courses that I've done, and it takes a bit of time to do, but everything that you need is on there. And of course we've got teaching resources. So these are all the teaching resources that you can go to. So you've got the Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 and 4. And again, if you click on one of these, you can break these down. So this is how Year 1 progresses, and this is how Year 2 progresses. Very good website, and really excellent if you want to get some absolutely free resources, and also get yourself some training as well. Well, I like to say that the new kid on the block is the BBC Microbit, but it isn't. I bought a BBC Microbit about 8 years ago. I bought the Inventors Kit and did all the projects out of that, and it was great because having an electronics background, it sort of introduced me back to electronics and allowed me to do some programming with a microcontroller. I found it really great. But back then I just thought this website, or at least the BBC Microbit resources, just lacked a little bit. Well, not anymore. The BBC Microbit website's completely reinvented itself, and I have to say it is absolutely fantastic. So for those of you who don't know what a BBC Microbit is, the Microbit is a tiny pocket-sized computer. It was created by the BBC and is sometimes just called the Microbit without the colon in the middle. The Microbit is smaller than a credit card. Obviously it's not that big, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen. It's smaller than a credit card, has 25 red LEDs, 2 buttons, sensors and different features. These include an accelerometer, which can tell when the Microbit is moving, a compass which shows the direction it's moving in, and a radio and Bluetooth transmitters that can interact with other devices. It's a absolutely fantastic device, and considering that most schools probably would now have picked up a class set of these, you'd be mad to turn your back and ignore this, because I'll show you some of the planning in a minute, and the planning is fantastic. So the advantages, well, it's all free. Just like Teach Computing, everything is free, and it's full of complete lesson plans, not just dealing with computing but with science as well. It provides resources, training, support for teachers in the primary and secondary schools. It also offers courses and accreditation in bite-sized segments of 30 to 40 minutes. The courses break down all the terminology of coding, such as algorithm, abstraction, decomposition, input, processing, output and more. Now, I've done quite a few of these courses and I cannot rate them highly enough. 30 to 40 minutes to complete a course, and you get a certificate at the end. And the courses are brilliant. They've been very well thought out. The videos are brilliant. They explain all you need about coding, not just for the Microbit but coding in general, and they just work. So I really, if you're looking for a course to do, if you're perhaps going for an interview when you want to impress the interview panel and you want to wave a few certificates around, do a few of these courses. They are really good. BBC Microbit, like Teach Computing, is got community support on there, and another good thing is it's got a direct bolt on to other lessons such as science and data logging, so you can use this little device to log data as well. So you could use it not just in computing, but you can take it into your science lessons. It's fully hands-on. It's a piece of hardware that children can hold in their hands and program, and that interactivity is really good for children, and it introduces children to real life control systems and simple electronics. Again, there are some, well, I say disadvantages, or rather observations. Coding is limited to the functions and features of the microbit, but the coding for the microbit can be quite complicated. It can be very simple and it can go to quite complicated, so it's got a full range there. So it's got a brilliant range for beginners, for people who's somewhere in the middle, and if you're a little bit more advanced, it's all there as well. It's brilliant and it's dead easy to use, and the lesson planning just makes it a cinch to get on there and start using it. The coding may not be extensive as other platforms such as Scratch, but you've got a big advantage that if you in a particular school that might want to teach a little bit of Python, you can also code in Python as well. You don't have to, you can just use the make block, but you can code in Python if you want. So let's just nip along to the BBC Microbit website and just have a quick look around. Right, so on the BBC Microbit, this is the website, and as you can see, it's great. It's got everything that you need on it. It's got all the lesson plans on. So if you go to projects, you've got all the projects on there, and you can download the code, you can download the lesson planning for this, and it's got absolutely dozens and dozens of projects on there that you can do. One of the great things is that it does actually integrate into Scratch as well, so you can use your microbit to control some of the characters in Scratch. That's a little bit more advanced, but you can do that if you want to. You've also got the teach on there, so these are some of the lessons that you can teach, and like I say, everything there is a complete lesson. It just starts off, it's got all the coding on there and everything that you need. This is probably a good start. This is the one I want to show you later on. So this is the make code first lesson, introduction to the microbit, and it's got everything you need on there. You start off by creating a name badge, then the beating heart, then an emotion badge, a steps counter. So it takes you through the microbit bit by bit. Brilliant. I'll show you this later on, but it's absolutely superb, this website, and the resources and the training have been really well thought out. I can't recommend it high enough. If you're thinking of doing a bit of training, a bit of coding, and want to get a certificate, definitely try the BBC Microbit website out. It really is brilliant. So if you are doing some training, this is the sort of certificates that you can pick up. This was a 35-minute course, and this course introduced the basics of how to get started teaching with the microbit, some practical suggestions, top tips, and getting most out of your lesson. 35 minutes, you get a certificate like this, and the certificates build and scaffold together. They are brilliant. They're just absolutely superb. So get on there, do a bit of training, and improve your computing skills. I just can't recommend it high enough. So let's take a look at organising your work. Of course, one of the biggest problems you've got, not just in computing, but also with any other lesson, is how you're going to organise your work, where you're going to put the work, how the children are going to access the worksheets, and how you're going to organise it. These are the current live lessons we have at Aldwyn Primary School at the moment. So this is everything that's being run now. These will come to an end when we take the February half-term break, but this is, and they'll all change then. Well, this is what we're doing at the moment, and that's a lot of lessons, and it takes from year 1 to year 6. So how are we going to organise this? How do we organise this amount of lessons, get children on there, get them working, and get them completing the work? How are we going to do it? Before I tell you how we're going to do it, I'm going to take you back to the future. Let me explain a couple of things. And I've edited this slide back to the future. So every school has a file server. It's how you log on, it's how it verifies who you are. And children should have access to at least one network drive. So documents, pictures and work can be shared and accessed from the shared drive. Easy peasy. That's what you should be able to do. But there's a problem. And this is an interesting slide, because this slide, it's been modified a little bit, but this slide dates back to 2016, And it's quite interesting. I'm used a slide from 2016 and it's now 2024. So what's changed, if anything? So if you start at number one, or we start looking at the network to begin with, the network's insular. It's within the four walls of the building. So you've got a file server, you've got a network switch, you've got a router, and you've got some PCs connected. So that's your school network. So in this current system, work done in the school will stay in the school because there's no way getting it off the file server unless you've got a VPN. And or you look at number two, before GDPR, there was a massive use of pen drives or email attachments to allow work to be taken home. That's not the case anymore, but that's what it was like in 2016. And of course, there was no way for students to access their work at all from outside of the school, and no easy way to share data between different devices. So you remember that slide dates back to 2016, and I used it in quite a few of the Google showcases I did back then at Dowson Primary School. And it demonstrated exactly, it's just the same now. Nothing's really changed for most schools anyway. Well, of course, there's always a problems. And there is a problem. Lots of schools now have devices like Chromebooks, and of course not forgetting the very long established iPad. These devices were never designed to access shares on a Windows network. Although they can access shares, both can do that. They can connect to a Windows server and access shares on there, but you're not going to really want to do that, believe me. And the question really is, can children access work without connecting to or using a Microsoft Windows-based computer? Can they do that? And if so, what's the solution? So it's 2024. So why are some schools still using IT? I say they're in a time warp. The way children access work for some schools at least hasn't changed since the first IT suites were introduced in the mid-1980s. Why is that, and what is the solution? Well, the solution is to use a cloud platform like Office 365, or better still, Google Workspace for Education, which was developed by Google particularly for education, and it works like a dream. The big benefits of using something like Google Cloud is seamless collaboration, so children can work on projects together in real time, and believe me, they do it, and they do it a lot. Once it's installed and once they know how to use it, they will collaborate on projects that they create themselves and share between each other. So it's all cloud-based storage and accessibility, enhanced communications and engagement, so you can communicate very easily with students and set work for them to do, very easy to do. Effective content creation and distribution, again, you can distribute your work very, very easily. You've got loads of embedded learning tools, data security and protection, so it's very, very secure. It's cost effective and scalable because it costs you nothing. The basic starter for Google Workspace for Education is nothing. I only work for one school that actually pays for Google. They pay for it, they use it so much and use many of the other features. It's the only school I work for that pay for it. All the rest, including this one, Aldwyn, we've got the free edition and we don't really need anything else. So it's accessibility and inclusive learning. So you can access it very easily, and the learning on there is almost self-taught. Children start to use the apps that are available, and they then go on to create their own work on Google Cloud, either in school or at home. And there's continuous updates and innovation, so it's always up to date. The important thing though is it allows children to access their work at home and other cloud-based services via their Google accounts, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So let's be a bit daring and let's create two lessons. Okay, I'm going to do one on the server, I'm going to do one on Google Cloud. This might not work too well. It should work. Let me be brave and create these lessons for you. So I'm just going to drop out this presentation. I'm just going to open up a file explorer and show you where the lessons are, and just show you the problems that you might encounter creating it on the school server. Okay, so I'm now on more or less a network drive. I'm on an E drive, and it's called data, this one. It'll probably be different for different schools, you know, depending on what children have got access to. And on there, I've just got 2 drives on there at the moment. This is just a demonstration of what you probably will find at your school. And what we've done is we've downloaded and uploaded onto the drive the first lesson for the Teach Computing. And if you go into public, you can see JG first lesson worksheets. So these are the worksheets that I want children to do during this lesson. So if we go into a quick look at some of these worksheets and just show you what they are. Okay, these are bespoke worksheets. These are worksheets that I've created. They don't actually come down with a lesson planning. This is just extra work that I want children to do. But this would be one of the first worksheets that children would do. So it's just a drag and drop. So we've got radio antenna, we've got power button, we've got processor. So it's just a matter of dragging and dropping the different the different labels to the right place on the microbit. And again on here, that's all this one is. But straight away you've got a problem with this. Let me show you why in a minute. I don't want to save that. Don't save it. Okay, let me have a look at the worksheet we want children to do as well. So this would be the worksheet. So this is the worksheet we're going to get children to do, and it's sort of linked to the lessons. So that's a worksheet we want children to do. And we've also got, what else have we got on here? Design your own icons. Okay, these would all be paper printouts. Particularly this one will be a paper printout. So this is a design your own icons, so children can design and upload their own icons to the BBC Microbit. The problem you've got with this is you've now got your worksheets on the server, but you want to give each child a personal copy so they can complete. So let's take the drag and drop one. So what they would have to do is find them on the server, open it, and then you would have to go to File and do a Save As, and then save it to somewhere safe for them with their name. And you hope, and believe me, it happens, you hope somebody doesn't take these worksheets, for example that, and drag it into somewhere else, then they all disappear. That's the problem with setting it up on the file server. If you want them to do worksheets from here, then they're going to have to save a personal copy for themselves. If you're looking at my folder now, these are actually all the first lessons. So these are all the first lessons that we want children to do. And if you take a look, this is the download for the BBC Microbit website. So this would be the first lesson. So if we just nip on and present it. So this is a name badge. So these are great. These lessons are brilliant and what the computers do. So quick class discussion, where do you find them? It's a phone or computer, it's a game console or computer, so on and so on. They're brilliant. So we talked about the microbit, what it'll do, how you code it. These lessons are just brilliant to introduce the microbit to children, and it's very easy for teachers to get a grip of this and introduce the lessons. The other thing we haven't done in this presentation is some of the slides are linked to videos, and you get a link to a video down there. I'll show you in a minute when we create this lesson on Google Classroom how these videos can be linked directly to the slides, so you don't have to jump out of this and go over to YouTube to play the video. Again, these is something that children won't touch, so these will be saved somewhere safely, only for you to get access to. But certainly on public, the first lessons, they will need to access these worksheets and they will need to save them somewhere, and that can cause a lot of problems. So how will we create this lesson on something like Google Classroom? Let's go and open Google Classroom and take a look at how we would do this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the lesson up from absolute scratch. Right, I'm now on Google Classroom. This is how my Google Classroom currently looks with all the year groups on there. I'm currently teaching. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this from scratch for you, show you how it works. Let me just go to full screen. This is Google Classroom, and we're going to set up a brand new classroom. So we go to the plus at the top and we create a new class. And first thing it's going to do is ask us for a name. So I'm going to call it Ashton PGCE. So we can give it a section, we can give it a subject, we can give it a room. We could put on their IT suite perhaps, but or the classroom you're going to run this from. Don't normally do that, I'll just create it. So that'll take Google Classroom a few seconds to create that, and straight away we're now in it. So there's lots of things we can do to this. We can do all sorts of customization too. We can change the banner, we can start to do some class announcements. But I'm not going to do any of that, I'm just going to show you how to set it up. One thing I would advise you to do though, I really would advise you to do this, okay? It's on the stream at the moment. Students can post and comment, so they've got free access to the wall on the stream. So if they want to put comments on there, they can. Right? Don't, just don't, because unless you want to say eyebrow about 10 million times and some other stupid comments on there, then really you'd want to switch it off. So what we're going to do is students can only comment, or only teachers can post and comment, and that just stops students posting stupid comments on there. We can save that. So this is how it looks. This is Google Classroom, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to go across to my Peppa Pig account, which is a child's account, and we're going to join it. So if I now go across to people, you'll see I've got no students in this class at all. I can invite teachers, so if they want to invite Mr. Bonsall, I can click on Mr. Bonsall's name or anybody else, and I can invite them as a teacher. We've got no students. Now there's a couple of ways to invite students. This is one way. So if I wanted to invite Peppa Pig, I'll just find Peppa Pig's name and click invite, and Peppa Pig has now been sent an invitation. As you can see, Peppa Pig's greyed out and Peppa Pig's been invited. The other way of doing it is to go back to the stream, and this is the way I would normally do it with a class. I'd get them to join at the start of the lesson, just using the class code. So I would just get them to type the class code in, and off they go with it. So if I now just drop out of this for a second and go across to Peppa Pig's account, and I'll get Peppa Pig to join this classroom, you'll see then what it looks like. Okay, so here I am now. I'm on Peppa Pig's account, and as you can see, Peppa Pig has already received an invitation to this classroom. So as soon as I invited Peppa Pig, Google Classroom generates an email and it sends them an email, so I can just simply join the class if I want to. But I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do it the other way. That's one way of doing it. The other way is I now just jump onto Google Classroom, so we'll nip on the 9 dots, the apps launcher, and we'll jump onto Google Classroom. These are all the classrooms currently available to Peppa Pig, and as you can see, Google Classroom has already created that classroom for me, and I've now got an invitation to join it. So that's all you need to do with that. If I click on there and click join, okay, Peppa Pig is now part of that classroom. So Peppa Pig can now see the classwork, and Peppa Pig can now see the teachers. And of course, there's nothing in this at the moment. It's completely bare. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a lesson. So here we go. I'm now back on my teacher's account. I'm back on Mr. Goodyear's teacher's account, and I'm in the Ashton PGCE classroom, and I'm going to click on classwork. Now when I click on classwork, it is now inviting me to create some classwork, and I can now click create, and I've got lots of options there as to what I can do. I can create an assignment, I can create a quiz, questions, material, or I can repost something I've already used. First thing I want to do is create some topics, and on Google Classroom you can separate different topics by creating just a topic name. So I'm going to create, the first topic I'm going to create is computing. I'm going to click add. As you can see, I've now got a computing section. So I'm going to click create, add another topic. I'm going to create English. Okay, add. I'm going to create another one. Topic. I'm going to create history. That's history. So I've now got 3 different topics on there. You can create as many topics as you like. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to create the work. Okay, I'm back on Google Classroom now, and I'm going to create an assignment. We've got no assignments created at all. We've got all the different sections added, and now I'm going to create an assignment. And I'm going to call it Introduction to the BBC Microbit. First thing I want to do is create the links that I want children to click on and use. If you're creating this on something like a file server, then you're going to need to create probably a paper document with the links that you want children to click. We're going to create them directly onto Google Classroom. So the first link that we want is the make code one. So it's microbit.org code, and I can right click and just copy that, and I can go back to Google Classroom, add a link and paste it in, click add link. Okay, so that's the first link. I want to also add this link. This is a Google Gemini, which is their AI tool. Previously known as Google Bard, it's now known as Google as Gemini, because they've just done a recent rename. So I want children to access this because we're going to use it later on to create a resource sheet for the BBC Microbit. So go back there, add a link, paste. Okay, so I've now got 2 links on there. What I want to do now is to add some work. So these are the worksheets that we want children to do, and this time what we're going to do, we're going to add them from Google Drive. So I'm going to click on Google Drive, and these are all the recent work that I've had, but I'm going to click on Google Drive, and I know where these resources are. They're actually in my stuff, they're in lesson planning, they are in the BBC Microbit, they're in lessons, and they're in Microbit first lesson. And I've got a folder on there called JG First Lesson Worksheets. These are all the lessons that we're going to do over the next 6 weeks. This is what we need. So we're going to add all of these. That's one worksheet. That's another worksheet. That's another one. That's another one. And that's another one. That one is. So we're going to add them now, and they've all now been added to Google Classroom. Now this is where I've just missed one, I think. Oh no, I have. Let me just go and add one more back, because I've actually just missed one. And it's that one. Okay, so now we've got all our worksheets in there. The first one is a worksheet that I want every child to do. So I'm going to change that to make a copy for each student. The second one is also a worksheet that I want children to do, make a copy for each student. The third one is to design your own icons, make a copy for each student. So each student will get an individual copy of that worksheet to work on. The keywords I don't want children to have access to, and I also don't want children to have access to the prompts. So I think that's it, and we can now give it a topic, which will be computing. If you want to change, if you're going to score this on Google Classroom, which you can do, which is really, really good, you can decide how you're going to score it. This is out of 100 at the moment. You can mark it as unmarked or change that to out of 10. If you want to assign it now, you can click assign now. You can save it as a draft, or you can schedule it to go live at another date, and that's what I would normally do. But I'm going to assign this right now, and off it goes. That's now been assigned. Okay, so you can see BBC Microbit. There we go, BBC Microbit down there. Introduction to the BBC Microbit. And if we now go across to Peppa Pig, straight away you'll see stream is updated. So we click show, and now that lesson's now live. If Peppa Pig clicks on that lesson, or indeed goes to classwork, you can see it's a live lesson. So we can open it up now, and then straight away what you will see is this. You'll see in this corner all the worksheets we want children to do. So we can open up these worksheets, and these will open up exactly as they did in PowerPoint, no different, apart from the fact they're now on Google Cloud. So we can complete that drag and drop power button over to there, battery sockets over to there, and so on. So that's the worksheets we want children to do. And if we go back, we've now got, this is the other worksheet we want children to do to complete during the lesson. So that worksheet's now live and ready to go. If you want it a little bit bigger, just increase the size of it. So that worksheet's ready to go. And we've also got design your own icons as well for a later lesson. So if children want to design their own icons and describe the program they're going to write, they can do that. So that's the worksheets. But what we've also got on here now are the links to the different places they want children to use. For example, if we say to children, let's do some coding, they can now just click straight on there, allow the cookies, make code editor, sign in with Google, because they've got a Google account. And as you can see, these are all the projects that's currently been Peppa Pig has been working on the Microbit website. And you can see that if you open up one of them, this is how they look. So, and again, this is from the first lesson that I've just showed you, so everything there is for children to use. One of the things that we do want children to know about are the keywords. So this is a read-only document now, and these are all the keywords we want children to learn. So the BBC Microbit is a piece of hardware. The BBC Microbit is a tiny computer. It needs a program to tell it what to do, and so on and so on and so on. That's on there, but they can't change that. It's view only. And the other thing they've got on there at the moment are the Google Gemini prompts. So that's how you will set a lesson up on Google Classroom. It's on there, it's ready to go. All children now need to do is log in and pick it up. If we go back to my view of the classroom, I click on people, I've got one student in there, but my normal classes will be about 30 students. So I only need to create that once and deploy it, and everybody's got the worksheets, everyone's got the links that they need to use. It is simple, it is easy peasy once you get the hang of it, and it saves you an enormous amount of time. Because everything, almost everything, particularly if you're using a Chromebook, you're going to be running from the cloud. So the Chromebook has been designed to run from the cloud, and to be honest with you, the computer suite you're in now, really I have to say, we access 99% of all our software from the cloud. We have very, very little loaded locally, very little. Gone are the days where you used to build an image for a piece in, you know, the ICT coordinator will wheelbarrow out stacks and stacks of disks for you to load on. Gone. Everything we do, we run from the cloud, because we want children to access that work at home. So if they run it in school, we want them to be able to access it at home. So we have a whole bunch of cloud-based software that they use and access. So this is just a very brief list. The handouts you've got, they'll probably will list a lot more. So Canva is definitely one that you really want, and I've just finished signing the school up for a school account, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. This is now bolted directly onto our Google system with a single sign-on, and it works like a dream. Another one you might want to get hold of is Adobe Express. Let me just go back to Canva. Canva's brilliant because the educational version gives you all the professional features, and it also includes some fantastic AI tools such as Magic Design. Adobe Express again is very much like Canva, full of templates, and you get access to Adobe Firefly, which is their AI tool, although it's a little bit limited to access to Firefly. You can usually run out your credits. Adobe Firefly is another one. Again, that's a standalone program. It's available directly from Adobe Express, or you can just access it by going to Firefly, but you will need to log in as well to get that. And also Remove BG. You don't need to log in for that, but that's just one of these brilliant sites that will just remove the background from an image and make it transparent. Actually brilliant, superb. Coding, Scratch, Code.org, BBC Microbit, all cloud-based, so you can access these from a Chromebook or from an iPad. Easy peasy, no problems. If you're doing video creation and Podcastle is absolutely brilliant. It's a professional quality podcast generator. It can record, edit, transcribe and export your content. It's got some AI built in, but again, you'll be using the free version. There's nothing to pay for, but you get limited access to things. CapCut, well, CapCut's an all-in-one creative platform and it's powered by AI. It enables online video editing, so you can use it from a Chromebook or from within a designer, or within a browser, and it allows you to design and produce some brilliant videos. And of course, Canva and Adobe Express have got video editors built in, and they're ideal for creating things like 1 minute YouTube shorts. Let me just nip across and I'll show you how the Canva account works. Hop across to Peppa Pig. So we're back on Peppa Pig's account now. If I now click on the apps launcher and I scroll down and down and down, you'll now see we've got Canva is now part of our Google suite of applications. So this is a whole school account, and this gives children access to the professional version, so everything is free. If I click on Canva, straight away I've got no login, I've got nothing. So these are all the work that Peppa Pig's been working on. It's a brilliant piece of software. It's brilliant, and really I advise any school to sign up for it. But to make the most of it, you do need the provision in place first, like Google Workspace for Education, because that will allow you to incorporate it straight into their applications. That will lead us to the very end of this presentation, and we're going to take a very quick look at AI. This is a screenshot from a documentary that was on YouTube, 60 minutes, and I can't see this happening anytime soon in the UK, although I bet there are companies currently working on systems like this. This is a remote session, so the teacher, as they explained, was about 1,000 miles away, but she could keep an eye on all the class because AI is monitoring all their movements. It will tell whether they're concentrating and whether they're distracted, and then that particular child can be taken to one side and find out why they're distracted, why they're not concentrating and so on. That's what they're doing in China at the moment, and this is for remote learning. I can't see it happening here anytime soon, but I'm pretty sure there are people working on this right now and will probably be available at the next bets. Let's have a look at what we've got access to today. The first thing you need to remember is that AI is here to stay. It ain't going anywhere. It's just not going to go anywhere. And schools really need to be early adopters. They really need to be early adopters on this and not turn their back and walk away from it. And they need to embrace it as a teaching tool. Teachers need to decide how and when to include it in lessons, and schools need the provision in place to allow them to use AI. If they don't have that provision in place, they're going to find it very difficult to use any sort of AI tools at all. This is a comment that really jumped out from the CEO of the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and he said, Children from all backgrounds need to engage with AI and help reduce the digital divide. We've messed this up before with digital skills. Let's not do it again. I've been saying that for about 13 years, that we messed up with digital skills massively. And AI is here now, so let's not mess up with that one. We need to embrace it and we need to use it. But how do we use it? The problem is that AI has posed more questions than answers. And this is just a list that I created from some of the courses and some of the reading I've done. So what do we tell children about AI? What we should not tell children about AI. How do we introduce it? How do we include it in lessons? Should it be used in computer lessons only? What platforms do we use? What year groups should have access to it? How will the school manage it? Should children have access to it at all? And I thought long and hard about AI. We've had access to it here for quite a while, and I thought long and hard about enabling it. And then I did a course about using it as a teaching tool, and that completely changed the way I thought about it, because previous to that I just thought AI in children is a cheating tool. It will allow children to cheat doing exams and doing lessons. Not if it's used properly, not if it's introduced. So there are two aspects to AI at the moment. There's teaching AI and there's teaching with AI. So using AI as a teaching tool. The courses I've done have come out really clear on lots of things they want you to tell children or not tell children. You should not talk about AI as if it was human. It isn't human, and they've impressed that really, really badly. They want you not to talk about AI as if it's human. They want you to avoid using certain words like AI learns and AI is human-like. It isn't. AI at the moment doesn't learn. It probably will do in the future, but the only way AI learns at the moment is from large language modules, large blocks of data that's fed in, which AI will analyse, and then an algorithm will allow it to produce a human-like response to questions. So it's not human. There's a question of fairness and transparency and bias and safety concerns. These are big questions for asking about AI at the moment, about whether it is fair, whether it's transparent, and whether there's a bias there. Accuracy is another one they want you to talk about, and it's not just about accuracy within the results. Think about accuracy and self-driving cars. So there are very good. I've had access to Google DeepMind, which allowed me to train some AI to do certain things, and it's fascinating to watch it learn from your inputs. So, and accuracy, you can see, is really, really important. And they need you to tell you that AI at the moment is programmed by humans. It's not programmed by itself, it's programmed by humans. And AI is in use everywhere. And that's another thing they need you to talk about if you're going to start doing the teaching. I'm just working through creating maybe a bespoke lesson for this, which I'll possibly use for year 6. But at the moment, I'm still sort of learning myself. So, how are you going to use it as a teaching tool? Well, the first thing you need to do is choose a platform, and that will depend very much on what provision your school's got in place. If it's got Google Workspace for Education in place, you can use Gemini. If you've got Office 365, you can use Copilot. If you've got neither of these, then what you're going to do, you'll need to sign up a load of accounts or something like ChatGPT, or create a load of Gmail accounts for children to use. Not a great idea. You then need to decide how you want AI to interact with your class, and you're going to be using AI to enhance your lesson. Text to image is a brilliant starting point, and I'll give you some examples of that in a minute. It's a brilliant starting point with AI, and Canva is brilliantly suited to this. And using AI as a chatbot and a friendly teaching assistant, which we're going to see how that works in a minute. If you're going to do that, then you need to get the first prompt absolutely right, because that will set the chatbot up in a particular mode. You need to be able to control access to AI. So at the moment we can switch AI on or off, or we can switch it on for particular year groups and off for particular year groups. At the moment it's on for everybody. And if you are going to use AI to create a resource, then you need to link that result generated to a worksheet and make sure children are doing some work from that resource. And we're just looking at the moment of using it with SEN children and using the built-in reader. Choose your platform, and that will depend, as I've just said, what provision your school's got in place. And then once you've done that, you're going to decide how you're going to use it in your lesson. Then you're going to create a series of prompts for children to use. Creating the prompts are really important, because that will completely set the chatbot up in exactly the way you want it set up. Don't let the children do it. These are some really quick examples. This is Colorize. There's no login for this, it's just a website, and it uses AI to colorize pictures. We did this with this is year 4's work. And we started using AI very simply. There's also another one called the Magic Erase, which is really good, which is very much like the Magic Erase on a Google phone, and it just allows you to paint over different parts of the picture, and it will be erased out, and it looks like it was never there before. So they're two great AI tools that you can use straight away. No logins required, and you can get children to start to colorize some black and white pictures. This is where it shines. So this is a year 3 project, and this was an image created from Canva, text to image. So the lesson planning behind this is just one small section of the lesson planning, but the idea was that children had to think of a book that they wanted to write. So they've created a book cover using AI, so text to image AI. They created this book cover, as you can see here, and then they created a title for the book, and then they did a book review on it. So they generated the artwork from AI, but they had to use their imagination to create the book review and work out what the book was about. Here's another one called The Heist. Kensig had created a really brilliant book cover for this, and he's also created an absolutely brilliant book review for it. The book review is fantastic. So again, the cover's made with AI on Canva, but they had to sit down and create the book review for it and write that. So what did children say about using AI? Oh, well, they loved it. So I'm going to show you what we did with children in a minute. And when we asked for comments, things like, I would like to use it again. It's good how you can ask it more questions. It's good, I can listen to it. And if you don't understand it, you can play it again. I really liked it. So we had a whole lesson where children generated a resource sheet for the BBC Microbit. They sat there with headphones on, and we used the voice generator within AI to play back so they could listen to what was being generated. And then they did a worksheet based on that resource sheet. And nearly all children said they would like to use it in other lessons. Well, getting the first prompt right. So getting children to create their own resource with a chatbot. Well, some really important things you've got to remember about this. Getting the first prompt right. This will put the chatbot into correct mode. And then you create a prompt sheet for children to use. This will make sure they cover all the things you want them to ask. So you link the AI generated resource to a worksheet. So you make sure they're actually doing a worksheet from that resource they've created, and you encourage children to ask further questions. This was a worksheet for Sutton Hoo, and you can see the first prompt here. You are a friendly teaching assistant working with children of 9 years old. That's the key. That first prompt, that first line, you are a friendly teaching assistant. Now let's set it up as a teaching assistant now, and it's also set the age of the child. So the child is 9 years old, and it says, can you help them learn about Sutton Hoo? Give them some information and ask if they want to answer some questions. And this is what it started to generate, and then there were further questions that children asked. So let's hop out of this. Let's go and take a look at how we're going to use AI to create a resource sheet. Right, I'm back on Google Classroom now. So I'm back on Peppa Pig's account, the introduction to the BBC Microbit. And I've got two things to do with AI. The first thing I've got is a Google Doc, which has got the prompts that I want children to use with AI. So I just zoom in a little bit to go to 125. You'll see that the first prompt, again, very important. You are a friendly teaching assistant, and I want you to help me learn about the BBC Microbit. So that sets it up as a teaching assistant. I'm only 8 years old, so please make it as simple as possible. And can you leave spaces so I can ask questions? That's the first prompt. The second prompt is, what sensors do you have? Then it's going to ask, then the child's going to ask, can you tell me how to code it? Then it's going to ask, what is the microprocessor it uses and how much memory does it have? And can you explain how it makes use of input, process and output? So they are the prompts that we're going to get children to use. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to copy the prompt. So I'm going to highlight it, right click and copy. Then I'm going to go back to Google Classroom and I'm going to click on the link for Gemini. So this is Gemini. This is previously called Google Bard. Google recently renamed it within the last 2 days actually to Gemini. It's being developed all the time. Shortly in the next few months there's going to be image generation and video generation available on here. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to drop the prompt in there. So we've now got the prompt in and we're going to now submit the prompt. And Bard will now go off and create some resources for me. So if I'm not happy with the first one, I can now go to the second one. If I'm not happy, I can go to the next draft. So I think I'll choose draft 2. So this now gives me some information. But what we can now do with this is we can now click on listen. And this is what children were doing in the IT. So they had the headphones on and they generated a resource and then they click listen.
Of course. I'm happy to be your friendly teaching assistant and help you explore the amazing world of the BBC Microbit. Remember, there are no silly questions, so feel free to ask anything that pops into your head. Imagine the Microbit is a tiny computer that fits right in your hand. It has buttons, lights, and even sensors that can detect things like movement and touch. But the coolest part is that you can program it to do all sorts of fun things.
Okay, you can see where it's going to with this. It starts to talk about what you can do with it, how you code it, sort of things it's got on board. So if we now go back to the prompt and we say, well, what sensors does it have? We can now click copy, go back to Gemini, go back down to the bottom, paste that prompt in, and present it to to Gemini again, and it will now come back with all the sensors. So again, we can now play it.
The Microbit has some super cool sensors that let it see and feel the world around it. Here are the main ones. Motion sensor. This guy can tell how you're moving the Microbit, like shaking it, tilting it, or even spinning it around. Imagine making a game where you tilt the Microbit to guide a character.
Okay, I think you get the idea of what's going on there. So imagine, let me just go and pull this. Have I got any more on here? Oh. Sorry, let me just pull up what we were doing again. As you can see, I've already generated it. It will remember all the things that you generate. And this is a Sutton Hoo one. So this is the Sutton Hoo that we generated earlier on. As you can see, I think on the second prompt it says, can you tell me about the boat that was buried, why it survived so long, and can you include some pictures? And there it is again. So we click on play on there.
Of course, the buried boat at Sutton Hoo is pretty incredible, right? It's called the Sutton Hoo ship, and it's the biggest and most complete Anglo-Saxon ship ever found. Here's how it managed to stick around for so long.
Okay, so That again, it's about Sutton Hoo, nothing to do with computing, and this time it's include a load of photographs and explain how the ship survived. So that's how you would use it. If you go back to the BBC Microbit one we've just generated again, so this is the one that we've just done, and the important thing is if you go back to Google Classroom and we now open up this document and we now click on 125%, as you can see this is now linked to that resource sheet, so it's asking a number of questions, and it's also linked to the keywords. So children have got 2 resources now to answer that worksheet. So the BBC Microbit is a piece of hardware. If you go back, is the BBC Microbit a piece of hardware or software? So all they've got to do is either listen to what Gemini has said to them, or go through the keyword sheet. So that's pretty much how we're going to be using AI at the moment. It's early days for AI in education. It's a brilliant tool, there's no doubt about it, and it's going to go really far, and schools definitely need to be early adopters of this technology. You need to get on board now. Don't turn the back on it and walk away like they did with cloud platforms and 21st century environments. Get on it now and use it. But of course, the schools that you will go into vary tremendously, and if they don't have the resources in place and already up and running, they're going to find it very difficult to use something like AI. We're going to develop it here. We're going to start looking at the possibilities now. We're going to use it. I've already talked to the SEN teachers here, and they're quite keen on getting their children to use this, because a lot of the children have their own Chromebook here, so they'll have direct access to AI, and we're just working out how we're going to use it. So that's it. That's the end of this presentation. In a minute, we're going to take a break now, and in a minute, we're going to pull in Year 6, and you're going to sit down and watch them design and create some websites. You can ask all sorts of questions about that. You can join in if you want to, and then straight after that Year 3 will be in, and you can watch them and join in creating some branching databases. Okay, thank you for this, and it's time to take a break, and I'll see you again soon.